My sister accidentally knocked over my $3,000 wedding cake, all because I refused to buy her a condo for her 21st. She just smiled and said, "Oops." My mom shrugged. You know how she gets when she's upset. I stayed silent. That night, I canceled the lease cosign and froze her moving fund. But the real surprise came at 9:42 a.m. when they received a notice. I stood paralyzed, a silent witness as my wedding cake disintegrated on the polished floor, the culprit none other than my own sister. But the true horror wasn't the grotesque wreckage or even the painful expense. It was the chilling certainty that this was no clumsy mishap. This was a declaration of war, and in that shattering silence, I finally understood. I was ready to fight. My wedding, you see, wasn't destined to be some ostentatious spectacle. Leah and I craved something deliberate, pristine, minimalist, and most crucially, paid for entirely by us. No grandiosity, just one flawless evening. Unadorned linens, an intimate guest list, the lake shimmering under a fading sun. I'd painstakingly hoarded every last cent, down to the sand in my savings account. No external assistance, no unsolicited contributions, no unspoken demands. Save for the cake. Ah, the cake. A magnificent three-tiered confection, adorned in white and gold, intricate sugar lattice work embracing delicate lettering. Liam and Leah. A staggering $3,000. Believe me, I know. It far exceeded my initial budget, yet it was the sole indulgence of the entire celebration. After the tumultuous year we'd endured, I desperately needed one element to transcend mere survival. Naturally, Kendra, my younger sister, made her grand, tardy entrance. Her hair still damp from a rush shower, her heels impossibly high for the grassy terrain. She arrived empty-handed, no gift, not even a perfunctory greeting. Instead, she floated directly into the reception's heart, phone held aloft, her smile a calculated performance for an unseen lens. She reached the cake table precisely as the staff began its slow roll. She halted, positioned herself beside it, then casually leaned her elbow onto the surface, fiddling with something near her ear. An earring, perhaps? Then, with an almost imperceptible shift, her arm slipped. Her elbow accidentally nudged the edge. A delicate shove. The cake listed. It teetered, a suspended moment of dread, then met the floor with a violent, sickening crash. Frosting erupted in a sugary explosion. Glass shards scattered. A collective gasp rippled through the air, instantly followed by a chilling vacuum of silence. Leah's gown, her exquisite cream-colored train, became an unfortunate canvas, catching the falling top layer. It was instantly adorned with a macabre mosaic of sugared flowers and buttercream. Kendra laughed. Just one word, airy and utterly dismissive. Oops. No hint of remorse, no flicker of shock. Only a self-satisfied smirk, as if she'd merely fumbled a napkin. A few guests offered nervous titters. One kind soul, bless his heart, futilely attempted to reassemble a piece of the wreckage. Another instinctively reached for their phone. I remained immobile, rooted to the spot, simply observing the devastation. Then my mother materialized beside me, a flute of Prosecco still clutched in her hand. Her voice, as always when sidestepping responsibility, was deceptively soft. You understand that particular tone, don't you? The one she reserves for feigned disappointment. That's all, she murmured. Not I'm sorry. Not this is unacceptable. Just that a dismissive shrug masquerading as empathy. I offered no reply. My gaze remained fixed on the wreckage before I turned and walked towards Leah. Later, sequestered in the venue's guest bathroom, we hunched over the sink, desperately trying to rescue her dress. Leah dabbed at the stained fabric, her movements quiet, almost mournful. Was that on purpose? She breathed, her voice a barely audible whisper. I met her eyes in the mirror, the smeared mascara, the faint tremor in her hand. I didn't respond immediately, simply continued pressing the damp towel against the ruined silk. She asked me to buy her a condo. I finally stated, for her 21st birthday. Leah didn't flinch. She merely nodded, slow and deliberate. And when you said no, she ruined our cake. I hesitated, then added, looking away, not just the cake, the last thread of obligation. That night, long after the last guest had departed, I sat in our silent apartment, the laptop open. The wedding guest list, a symbol of joyful planning, was still pulled up, but my focus had shifted. A digital folder consumed my attention. Kendra, inside. Lease cosign paperwork, transfer receipts, the escrow account for her moving fund, a hefty $12,000. All meticulously prepared. I felt no surge of anger, not truly. Just a stark, piercing clarity. At precisely 1:12 a.m., I executed two definitive actions. I rescinded my name from the lease cosign agreement. I froze the moving fund account. Then, I scheduled a notification for the following morning, an outgoing notice set for 9:42 a.m. No immediate message accompanied it. There was no need. Not yet. This, you see, was not a sudden impulse. The cake was merely a flashpoint. The condo a symptom. The underlying truth stretched back far, far longer. Kendra had always possessed this uncanny ability to voice her desires just audibly enough that someone else felt an inexplicable compulsion to fulfill them. Never a direct demand, never an explicit plea, but a subtle atmospheric shift. Enough for Mom to tilt her head, her voice laced with practiced understanding. Well, it's her birthday, or she's just going through a phase. Kendra didn't resort to tantrums. She simply floated her expectations, and somehow, everyone else instinctively recalibrated their own behavior to accommodate them. At 16, when she coveted a car, she never directly approached our parents. Instead, she innocently inquired of me how challenging it might be to lease one. Brochures would mysteriously appear on the kitchen counter. Screenshots of used Mini Coopers arrived in my inbox, accompanied by saccharine captions like, "Isn't this just adorable?" And she acquired the car. When she later flunked 2 college courses, there was no apology. Only a request for my assistance in drafting an appeal letter to retain her scholarship. I painstakingly rewrote the entire submission. She was reinstated. Not even a thank you text graced my phone, but a follow-up email did arrive. She meticulously replicated my appeal letter's format to solicit an internship from one of my former employers. She didn't just accept assistance. She repurposed it, repackaged it as an inherent entitlement, and then brazenly rewrote its origin story until it had always, in her narrative, been rightfully hers. By her 20th birthday, my record included co-signing a lease, averting her eviction after 2 months of unpaid rent, settling a dental bill, and bankrolling a quick trip to Tulum that, predictably, ballooned in expense. Each instance accompanied by Mom's unwavering refrain. She just needs a little help getting on her feet. It's been 5 years, and she's still finding her way. So, when the text message arrived a month before the wedding, I wasn't surprised. Thinking of moving to the east side. There's a condo I like, new construction. Mom said you might help with the down payment. She never asked. She simply assumed. The attached figure, a casual $72,000. Her promise, repayment, within a year or two. This from a person with no job, no discernible savings. Her bank app had once, at brunch, audibly declared low balance, $3.14, prompting only a dismissive laugh and, "Oops, guess that's lunch on you again." I left the condo text unanswered. She followed up with a TikTok video of the unit, the camera panning languidly over a pristine marble kitchen, then a sprawling rooftop terrace. The caption, manifesting this. Please ignore my broke brother, who's blocking the blessing. LOL. That was the precise moment everything irrevocably shifted for me. Not because she hurled another insult, I was well accustomed to those, but because she made it public. She sculpted me into the obstacle, the convenient villain in her self-serving narrative of deserving more. I spoke with Mom 2 days later, my voice meticulously calm, though a suffocating tightness constricted my chest. She posted that condo thing, I stated. It's no longer a joke. Mom sighed, a sound heavy with practiced weariness. Well, if you could help, I think it would really ease some tension. She's been feeling left behind. I already co-signed her lease. I practically blurted. You didn't really help, she countered smoothly. I pay for the moving fund. She said that was your choice. And there it was. The chasm. The artful reframe. The convenient, selective amnesia. Every single contribution I'd ever made, systematically erased, unless it arrived adorned with a smile, a decorative ribbon, and absolute silence. I recall vividly the first time I truly learned to go quiet. I was 13, kindergarten. We were at the beach. She demanded my boogie board. I said no. She dissolved into tears. I was grounded, not for any transgression, but because she's younger, she's tired. Don't escalate. So I ceased escalating. I stopped reacting. I discovered that the less I articulated, the smoother everything became for everyone else. And with the passage of time, they consistently mistook my silence for agreement, my politeness for tacit permission, my clearly defined boundaries for mere ill-timing. The cake, I realized then, was never merely a cake. It was her magnum opus, her ultimate performance. She hadn't toppled it through clumsiness. She orchestrated its downfall because she was denied her latest desire. And she knew, with absolute certainty, there would be no genuine repercussions. No direct confrontation, no messy scene, just another exasperated sigh. Another strategic reshuffling of memories until the entire incident conveniently morphed into a benign misunderstanding. But not this time. That profound night, as I froze the funds and rescinded my name from the lease, it wasn't an act of vengeance. It was an act of correction, a quiet, unyielding no, the decisive closing of a door that had remained precariously ajar for years. And yet, I didn't text her. I waited. Because I knew, with an almost prescient certainty, that the instant that notification landed at 9:42 a.m., they would finally grasp that the brother they had always taken for granted, the one they could always count on, had unequivocally ceased making himself available. The notification landed precisely at 9:42 a.m. I hadn't consciously watched the clock. I didn't need to. The telltale ping resonated from across the room. A group text, initiated by my mother months prior, quaintly titled Fam Updates. The first message materialized from Kendra. What is this? I just got an email from the leasing office saying the cosigner is gone. Seconds later, another. Did you cancel it? Are you serious? Then a third from Mom. Sweetheart, I'm sure this is a mistake. Can we all please calm down and talk first? That's when my phone began to ring. I let it chime once, twice before answering. Her voice, already strained, defensive, wounded, but in that theatrical way where the raw emotion seething beneath was undiluted rage. I'm standing in the leasing office, and they're telling me the cosigner is gone. Do you know what that means? I could lose this place. I didn't raise my voice. I offered no explanation. I simply stated, yes, I know what it means. A loaded bead of silence. You did this on purpose. Her accusation hung heavy. You knocked over our wedding cake on purpose. Another pause, shorter this time. She didn't deny it. That's not the same, she snapped. That was a moment. I was emotional, and I clarified, my voice steady and logical. So, I made a logical choice. I will not continue to support people who consistently disregard boundaries. She laughed. A genuine, derisive laugh. You're so dramatic. It was a cake. Get over it. Then she disconnected the call. No apology, no acceptance of responsibility. Just the same old, dismissive condescension, now repackaged as you're too sensitive. By noon, Mom arrived unannounced at my apartment. No call, no warning, just the insistent buzz at the front door and her voice, thin and urgent, over the speaker. Please, we need to talk. I buzzed her in, not from ingrained politeness, but from a quiet, steely readiness. She stood in my hallway, a stranger in a familiar space. Her eyes, restless, darted across my bookshelves, the woven rug, the plant by the window, as if absorbing it all for the very first time. You really went through with it. I offered no reply. She settled onto the edge of the couch, her purse clutched tightly in her lap, like a fragile bird poised for escape. You've always been the reasonable one, she began, her voice a practice bomb, the patient one. That's what made you special. She delivered it as praise. I received it as pure manipulation. And that's over now, I stated, my voice flat. That version of me no longer exists. She blinked, as if my response had short-circuited her expectations, as if she believed my resolve would crumble under her physical presence. You can't just abandon your sister. I didn't. I clarified. I simply ceased underwriting her life. Her voice, for the first time, rose in volume. She's young. She's 21. She's your sister. And I'm your son. I articulated slowly, distinctly, ensuring there was no room for her usual distortion. And I'm done being rewarded with silence for merely being responsible. She didn't weep. She didn't shout. She simply stood, smoothed her blouse, and declared, "Fine. I guess we all know where we stand now." Then she walked out. No hug, no parting platitudes, just the decisive click of the door closing behind her, the stark, final punctuation mark. But the fallout, a persistent tide, wasn't yet finished. That evening, my phone rang with an unfamiliar name, my cousin Jordan. We hadn't spoken in over a year. "Just wanted to say," he began, "I saw the thread, and I'm proud of you." Thread? I blinked, confused. He promptly texted me the link. Kendra had uploaded a story time to TikTok, captioned, "When your brother sabotages your future because he's jealous of your glow-up." 10 seconds of performative sobbing, punctuated by accusations. He left me homeless. He always hated me. He's never supported me in anything. Then, the insidious kicker. This is what happens when you outshine the golden child. The comment section was a chaotic blend of manufactured outrage and misguided sympathy. None of them, of course, knew the quiet, inconvenient truth. That she'd never been truly homeless. That she'd lived rent-free for months. That I'd silently covered every emergency without ever demanding a cent return. That the only thing I had ever truly withheld was my silence. Until now, I didn't post a counter-response. I didn't text her. Instead, I accessed my old Google Drive. The folder, meticulously labeled Receipts, contained screenshots, emails, transfer records, lease cosigns, proof. All time-stamped, archived, and until now, untouched. Then, I opened my email. I drafted a message to her potential landlord. Subject: "For your records, prior agreements." I attached everything, accompanying it with a single, unadorned sentence. "I am no longer financially or legally affiliated with Ms. Kendra, last name. Please see attached for context should issues arise." Sent. No emotion, no veiled threat, just pure, unadorned information. For the first time in years, I went to bed without compulsively checking my phone. No lingering anxiety, no suffocating guilt, just a profound stillness. Because the emotion they never anticipated wasn't rage. It was detachment. It was surgical clarity. And it had arrived precisely at 9:42 a.m. The fabricated narrative continued to metastasize. By Friday, that initial TikTok surpassed 600,000 views. She uploaded 2 follow-ups. One, a theatrical display of sobbing into a hoodie sleeve, lamenting emotional abuse from a sibling. The other, a melodramatic tableau in front of an empty apartment, proclaiming, "He pulled the rug out just as I was about to move in." Conveniently omitted any references to the condo, the wedding cake, or the countless years of unconditional support. Only pain packaged for clicks. I remained silent. No online retort. No reactive texts. No contributions to the group chats where cousins now tentatively whispered, "Hey, I'm staying out of this, but I hope you're okay." But silence possesses a formidable weight, and mine was beginning to command the room. The inevitable rupture arrived the following Sunday. "We receive an invitation to brunch at Mom's. A family reset," she chirped. Leah recoiled. She understood, intuitively, that this wasn't a genuine reset. It was an orchestrated attempt to reinstate the familiar, corrosive dynamic. Me, the quiet one. Kendra, eternally excused. Mom, the mediator. No accountability, just a smooth return to their normal. But I went. I needed to see if any fragment of this family still held allegiance to truth, or if it had devolved entirely into performance. The table, laden with pancakes and mimosas, offered fresh flowers and a veneer of false grace, as if hospitality alone could erase history. Kendra, ever dramatic, wore sunglasses indoors at the far end. Mom, a forced smile stretched thin, played cruise director. Dad, as always, was silent. No one mentioned the cake, the lease, the viral videos, or the landlord's email that, a cousin whispered, had already killed the condo deal. Just scripted pleasantries, until Mom broke the quiet. Halfway through, she sighed theatrically, announcing, "We've all made mistakes lately, but maybe it's time to forgive." The room held its breath. Under the table, Leah's hand found mine, a steady squeeze that wasn't urging silence, but offering choice. I set my fork down. "Okay," I said, my voice cutting through the forced calm. "Let's talk about mistakes. Let's talk about what it means to intentionally destroy someone's wedding cake." Kendra rolled her eyes. "Oh my God," still with the cake. I turned to her. "You asked for a condo." I said no. "You then destroyed the centerpiece of our wedding." "That's not a tantrum, Kendra. That's targeted." Mom interjected. She was upset. "So was I." I countered, but I didn't go online and fabricate abuse for attention. Dad finally stirred. "This isn't the place." "It's exactly the place," I stated, voice low but firm, because this is where the manipulation lies. In the smiles, the gloss, the let's move on before accountability. Kendra stood, trembling with unfulfilled rage. "You've always hated me." "No," I corrected. "I protected you. I carried you. And you weaponized that. You made choices," she spat. "No," I said calmly. "I just stopped funding it." Leah and I rose and left, our food untouched. Descending the steps of the house I had once called home, a stark realization settled over me. No one pursued us. Not Mom, not Dad, not even Kendra. Their inaction spoke volumes. We drove in silence for a long while, windows down, the wind a cleansing current through the oppressive heat. Then Leah spoke softly. "You didn't have to go, but I'm glad you did." I simply nodded. I needed to witness it one last time, to be absolutely certain. "Are you?" she pressed, her gaze unwavering as she squeezed my hand. "Yes," I confirmed. "I'm sure." A week later, we moved. A modest house on the city's periphery, nestled in a quiet, anonymous neighborhood. No blaring traffic, no residue of guilt clinging to the walls. I withheld the address. No invitations were extended to that side of the family. The group chat remained unupdated. I simply allowed the silence to continue speaking its powerful truth. Then, something wholly unexpected occurred. One evening, sifting through forgotten files, I unearthed a folder I hadn't touched in years. Inside, handwritten letters. From when Kendra and I were teenagers. She used to scrawl little notes, slipping them under my door. Brief scribbles. "Thanks for picking me up. Don't tell Mom I failed the quiz. You're the best brother." I sat on the floor, reading them under the soft glow of a lamp. And for the very first time, I allowed the grief to flood in. Not for the lost condo deal, not for the shattered cake, but for the sister I once knew. The one who, for a fleeting moment in time, had seen me not as a convenient wallet or a silent witness, but as genuine family. And I cried. Quietly. Completely. Then I rose, shredded each letter, and took out the trash. Some things, I realized, are simply not meant to be carried forever. The notification wasn't an act of vengeance. It was a legal update, a start formality, much like a final invoice after a service concludes. Cold. Procedural. Impersonal. I hadn't sent it to inflict pain. I sent it as a firm reminder to myself that I was finished. Yet, it seemed, reminders often sting far more sharply than threats. At 9:42 a.m., Kendra called. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then Dad. Then Kendra again. Then a message from Mom. "We need to talk. This isn't you. This is her." I stared at the screen. Her, as in Leah. That was the moment of absolute clarity. They weren't confused. They weren't remorseful. They were merely searching for a new scapegoat. And since I refused to bend, they simply found the next closest woman in my life to cast as their villain. Predictable. I didn't reply. Not then. Instead, I walked to the edge of our new backyard, coffee warming my hands, where the wind was still cool and the city felt blessedly distant. Inside, I could hear Leah's bright laughter on a call, probably with her sister. Something soft, ordinary, and profoundly real. And I felt it. Not exactly peace, but the quiet space where peace might finally begin to grow. By noon, I finally responded. Not to Kendra, but to Mom. Because I needed her to hear it from me. Not from TikTok, not from Kendra, not from voicemail. This isn't about Leah. It never was. You made choices. Kendra made choices. I made one too. I'm done enabling people who only love me when I'm useful. Please don't contact Leah again. If you genuinely want to talk, come as yourself, not as her defense lawyer. She offered no reply. 3 days later, she appeared unannounced in our new driveway. Leah spotted her first. Fixing a fence post, hands grimy with splinters and rust, faced her. No masks, no staging, just two people bound by blood. She emerged slowly, clutching a white bakery box. Of course. I watched. She opened it. A 3-tiered cake, white frosting, sugar roses. No replica of our wedding cake, but her clumsy, earnest apology. I didn't know what else to do, she mumbled. I thought maybe, why did you take her side? I cut her off. Her lips tightened. I didn't take her side. I just didn't want to lose both of you. So, you chose the one who screamed louder. Silence. Her gaze dropped to the cake. She was always fragile. You were strong. That word again. Strong. Strong enough to give, to absorb, to clean up. Being strong doesn't mean I don't hurt, I articulated. It just means you expected me to heal quietly. She winced. I'm sorry. I know, I conceded, but sorry isn't always enough. She blinked, then asked, is there a way back? The first honest question in years. I didn't answer immediately. I looked at the cake, at its cracked roses, at the woman who had raised me, and forgotten I was a person, not a provider. Finally, not right now. Maybe not ever. She nodded. No argument, no tears. She closed the box and walked back to her car. No final hugs, no guilt trips, just silence. The good kind. That night, I discarded the cake. Not out of spite, but mercy. Some things don't need to rot slowly. Some endings demand clarity. Later, lying in bed, Leo whispered, "You okay?" I considered it. Considered every version of myself I had embodied for them. The fixer, the banker, the buffer, the silence. And for the first time in years, I answered truthfully. I think I might be. She pressed her forehead to mine. You didn't just leave them. You found you. And there, in the quiet darkness, I smiled. Because it was true. And because I knew, with unwavering certainty, that whatever future unfolded, I would never again surrender pieces of myself merely to make someone else feel whole. Have you, my friends, ever faced the excruciating choice between unwavering family loyalty and your own precious peace? How do you even begin to draw a definitive line when the people you love consistently disregard it? Share your thoughts, your experiences, in the comments below.